Hello, today's topic is how I balance my dual constitution, which is Vata and Pitta at the same time. And this is all about Ayurveda. I've been interested in it for years and years. It helped me a lot when I was still stuck with dieting and so fearful of different foods. Learning about Ayurveda really set me free and helped me understand my body better and adjust my foods to different seasons and temperatures and even moods and energy levels. It helped me understand my nature so much better, and I haven't spoken about Ayurveda for quite a while, so that's why today's video is all about Ayurveda and how I apply it to my personal life. So for those of you who are not familiar with Ayurveda, there are three different constitutions, also called doshas. It's Vata, Pitta and Kapha. Vata is air and ether and is very dry, windy, changing all the time, rough, moving all the time, and it's basically like a cold and windy winter's day. Now Pitta is made of fire and it's hot, pungent, spicy, sharp. It's basically like a hot summer's day. And then Kapha is made of earth and water and it's cold, wet, smooth, and it's like an early spring day that is very wet and cold. So I find this whole theory really interesting, and Vata and Pitta both really sum up my personality and my body so well. The problem is that it's difficult to manage both of them at the same time because, as I said before, they're so different from each other. But the challenge here is to soothe and nourish Vata without overheating Pitta, which honestly is easier during the winter time or the colder month. In the summer it's a bit more challenging, but it's totally doable. So without further ado, this is how I balance my Vata and Pitta constitution. The number one thing is adjusting to the season, because the season is so important. So for example, in the summer, I will pay more attention to my Pitta side and its needs. So I'll focus more on cold and raw foods, although I will still eat the majority of cooked foods, but I will allow myself to eat more raw foods, raw fruit, some ice cream, more cold foods basically to cool myself down. But as soon as the weather starts getting colder, I revert back to my soups and warm cooked vegetables. And also in the summer when it's really hot, I don't want any kind of red meat, anything heavy at all naturally, so I just stay away from that. I just eat maybe some chicken or turkey, some light seafood, some light fish. And then when the weather starts cooling down, I naturally start craving more really mature cheeses and red meats and oily fish like salmon. Another thing that I do is take it really easy during the summer and make sure not to over-exercise or overtrain myself. So in the summer I'll do just light things like yoga, some Pilates, some light weightlifting, but I don't do any kind of running, although I hate running at all seasons, but I don't do much cardio or jumping around because those kind of activities make me sweat so much. And when it's hot outside, it's hot inside the house, sweating is the last thing to do, and it really overheats my Pitta side as well. So I just basically keep myself cool during the summer no matter what. And then in the winter I do a bit more intense workouts because I don't overheat or sweat too much. The next thing I focus on is not going out for a walk during the hottest hours of the day. And also the sun is the strongest during those hours, so it's easiest to get burned. So, you know, siesta in all the hot countries in the world has been invented for a reason, because honestly, when it's hot outside, going out is the last thing you want to do. You just want to chill at home, have a nap and eat and just rest and spend time with your family. So that's what I try to do. I just stay indoors, and my husband and I always go for a walk in the mornings before it gets really hot. And then in the evenings just before bed, we call those our moon walks, because the light of the moon is very balancing for Pitta. And afterwards we feel so relaxed and calm and we sleep like babies. The next thing that is so important for me is covering myself from too much wind and cold during the colder month, because those really aggravate my Vata so much. And I find that if I cover my head and my ears and my neck, especially my ears and my neck, from the cold wind, I don't mind it so much. The cold and the wind don't upset me as much, and my Vata stays in check. I mostly eat cooked vegetables throughout the year. Like I said, during the summer I'll eat a bit more raw foods or salads, but I noticed that if I eat raw salads for, say, 2 or 3 or 4 days in a row, I just literally feel my Vata getting really aggravated, and I start feeling anxious and worried about everything and scared of everything, and it just doesn't make my body or my mind happy. So I eat a lot of cooked vegetables in all kinds of forms, and just cooked food in general, and that really helps pacify my Vata. At the same time, if I stick to the foods that are not heating, even if they're cooked, and even if it's a hot summer's day, they still don't aggravate my Pitta at all. The next important point is that Vata is actually more important than Pitta. And let me explain that. It's because according to Ayurveda, 80 diseases are caused by Vata imbalances, and only 40 are caused by Pitta imbalances. So Vata is really like the master dosha, and everything else depends on it. When Vata gets out of balance, everything else is likely to go out of balance. So that's why whenever I balance myself, I always first pay attention to my Vata needs, because if Vata is happy, then it's very likely that my Pitta will be quite happy too. But again, it's very important not to overdo pacifying either of them, because then the other suffers. It's all about balance. Routines. I often talk about routines on my channel, and honestly, all kinds of routines and also regular sleep and eating schedules are so important for everybody's health, and they're extremely important for Vata, because Vata is all about changing and moving, and having something constant in our life is really helpful for Vata. At the same time, Pitta is also easily stressed out, so routines and schedules also really help it relax. So I always try to build routines and stick to my schedules. I really struggle with that because of my Vata nature, but it's something I always work on because I know how helpful it is for my body and mind. A sweet taste is actually very pacifying, the most pacifying taste for both Vata and Pitta. It's like the only common thing between those two doshas. So that's the taste that I pay the most attention to. And sweet taste in Ayurveda is not the sweets that we generally think of in today's world. Is things like all kinds of grains like rice or chicken, a lot of vegetables, sweet fruit, also milk. So many foods are actually considered to be sweet in Ayurveda, and they are so pacifying. So those are the kind of foods that I focus on all year long, and I definitely don't eat sugar all the time at all. I eat some sweet foods maybe once a week as a treat, but I just focus on all the other healthy, sweet tasting foods to keep me balanced. The next thing that I do, and it really helps me so much, is taking a herb called SHATAVARI. Recently I've been taking nothing at all, no supplements, no herbs, no minerals, apart from this Ayurvedic herb called SHATAVARI. I spoke about it already in my How I Healed My Thyroid video. I think it was last December or November, and it was so helpful to me. Recently I started taking it again, and I love it. It just makes my skin so much more nourished, my hair is more beautiful, I feel so much more attractive and feminine, I have better moods, more stable moods, more energy. It's just amazing for me. And that's because SHATAVARI actually balances both Vata and Pitta, so it's literally the best herb for my type of constitution. And the one I'm taking right now is the one from a brand called Savesta. I actually really like it. Before that I was taking a liquid extract in alcohol, and it was good, but this one is much better. SHATAVARI is really like the ultimate female tonic for all women of all ages, and I'm planning to make a separate video about SHATAVARI and what it does, and its history and what it helps for. I think it's a fascinating herb, and I'll definitely dedicate a whole video to it. The next thing I do is avoid anything sour, or to be more exact, I do eat some sour foods, but in very small amounts and together with other foods that kind of neutralize that sourness to a certain extent. I've always hated anything sour. but it took me a while to understand why. For example, if I eat sourdough bread is too sour, or if I put too much lemon juice in the salad, I'll literally get sores in my mouth instantly, and they hurt, and then my tongue gets really painful, and then I start overheating, and it's really bad for me, and it's always been like this. So what I do is I just add some lemon juice to the salad, but really very little, or I eat some sourdough bread that is not too sour. I also eat yogurt, but alone I find it too sour, so I add some palm syrup or some coconut sugar to it, and it becomes amazing and very soothing for both of my constitutions. Another point I want to cover is the astringent taste. The astringent taste is a lot of things, but mostly all kinds of legumes like beans and chickpeas and lentils. So it's very good for Pitta because it's cooling. The astringency literally soaks up all the extra heat, but it's quite aggravating for Vata. So it's something that I eat in moderation during the summer, and I find it really good for me. But in the colder months, I naturally don't want to eat any kind of beans or chickpeas at all. With one exception, red lentils are actually really heating, so I like adding those to my pumpkin soup during the colder month. Another topic to cover in this video is sweeteners. Honey and white sugar are both actually very heating, bad for Pitta. White sugar is also bad for Vata. White sugar is really bad for everybody, to be honest. So I just focus on coconut sugar and palm syrup, and both of those are really good for me. But again, like I said before, I eat sweets maybe once a week as a treat, and then I might add a little bit of palm syrup to my porridge or to my yogurt, but it's definitely not a major thing in my diet at all. But I believe it's important to eat something sweet to treat yourself, as long as it's in moderate amounts. The next thing I want to talk about is spicy food. Spicy food is really bad for Pitta because it's very heating, and too much spicy food is also bad for Vata. So during the colder months I might eat a little bit more spicy foods, but naturally I just don't like spicy foods at all. So I focus on really fragrant aromatic herbs like parsley, cilantro, also coriander powder is really good, basil, mint. By the way, I found out that I'm not allergic to mint, which is amazing, so I can drink my mint tea again and add mint to my foods, which is really good. And I just avoid things like chili or too much black pepper. A little bit of black pepper is perfectly fine for me, but I just don't overdo, especially during the hot months. And the last little point is, it might be something that you haven't heard of or haven't read about, but I think it's really important to talk about. And it's the fact that if you're a woman, the luteal phase, which is basically the 2 weeks between your ovulation and your period, is the time of Pitta. It's governed by Pitta. So your body will naturally create more heat, and it's easier to for Pitta to get out of balance. And I find that during those 2 weeks I am more likely to get hot flashes or to overheat. I'm more likely to get loose stools or a sour stomach. So I just really focus more on Pitta during those 2 weeks. And excess Pitta is also linked to heavy periods, so that's another reason why it's really important to keep an eye on the Pitta balance during those 2 weeks. So these are all of the things I do to keep my dual nature in balance. A lot of you actually told me that you were the same kind of constitution as me when I posted about it on my Instagram account. So that's really cool. I hope that this video is going to help you in your own balancing journey. Let me know what your dosha is if you know. If you don't know, I have a blog post with a few recommendations for Ayurveda related books. They're all amazing, and 2 of them are the most helpful ones if you want to find out which dosha you are. Those are Svoboda's Prakriti, which is amazing, and another one is Vasant Lad's the complete book of Ayurvedic Remedies or something like that. But if you just click on that link in my description box, you will find all of those books listed, and I might link to them in the description box too. So this is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I really hope that you found it interesting and helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.